Good afternoon. Welcome to the third in our series of Just IT Women in Tech webinars. Are you looking to change career? Do you want to move into a world of technology? Or perhaps you would like to upskill with an IT apprenticeship or training bootcamp? A recent survey by PricewaterhouseCoopers indicated that females aren't considering technology careers because of a lack of information about working in that sector. My name is Julianne and I'm a Senior Account Manager at Just IT, and I will be hosting today's webinar in which we will be exploring the roles of business analyst, IT support and digital marketing. Alongside me, we have an expert panel who can provide a valuable insight into these types of roles, and we hope today to really increase your confidence in applying for roles in the IT sector. We have live chat to answer your questions. My colleagues Nina and Leah will be on hand, so start to get your questions into the chat box and we will get answering. You will also be able to listen to the experience of two of our apprentices, Lauren, a digital marketing apprentice at Red Giraffe, and Lizzie, who has finished her IT apprenticeship and now works in the industry. Nina will be chatting to the apprentices later on and we'll get them to explain their career paths in more detail. Just for information, all attendees are on mute and this session is being recorded. Joining me on the panel are Aisling from Shell Energy Retail, Narissa from Phalanx Cyber, Cecile and Haifa from Cognizant IT, and finally we have Amo from Lotus Group, who is kindly deputising for Karan, who can't be with us today. Amo will speak on her behalf shortly. Welcome to all of you. So let's come straight over to you, Amo. First of all, thank you for standing in for Corin today. As a man, you are well placed to provide a unique perspective on women in tech, and I want to explore this shortly. But firstly, can you tell us a little bit more about Group Lotus and your role there?
Yeah, cool. Can everybody hear me?
We can indeed. Thank you.
Thanks, Julian, and thanks for inviting me. Yeah, and I'll see if I can do a good job and step in for Corin. Yeah, so a little bit about Lotus. So Lotus is a manufacturer of high performance sports cars. And recently there's been a massive investment from a Chinese company called Geely to help transform Lotus into a modern company. So there's been a massive transformation across the whole site effectively. There's a couple of new factories that are going to help produce two new models, Emira and Avaya. They are sort of high end, but we are looking to break into other markets as well over the next years or so. So in terms of IT, there's around about 70 people working in IT at the moment. And we go through many different elements of security, engineering, infrastructure, project lifecycle management, all that kind of stuff. So all the typical things you'd expect in an IT department. In terms of myself, I'm looking at sort of roles around a business analyst and business partners and project management and things like that. So I'm heavily focused around ERP systems, and these systems help sort of build our products at the end of the day. And they touch on pretty much every section or every function within the company. So that's a little bit about Lotus. So moving on about myself, I guess for me,
Thank you.
Yeah, I guess my journey's been a bit more traditional in a sense. I mean, I was interested in computers at a young age, quite a while ago now, and then I went did a computer science degree, and then when I went into the workplace, I started off as an analyst programmer, moved into business analysis, had a dream of becoming a systems analyst when I first came out of university, so I went into systems analysts, and then since the millennium, when there's been a sort of a segregation and an explosion of all different roles within IT, I decided to go into systems ownership and management. And that's when I started to get into more of the management of business systems and things like that. And then that's been done across various industries: automotive supply chain, electronics, pharma, and now sort of actual vehicle manufacturing. So pharma and automotive are pretty much similar, but they are quite diverse as well. So I spent a lot of time in pharma and manufacturing drugs and stuff like that. So, but that's all based around the various systems that are needed to develop those end products in a sense. So yeah, so it was in the millennium, I decided to go into management and then started to build teams to manage these systems that companies need to, in a sense, push out their final product. Does that help?
Picking up, yes, thank you, Amo. And picking up on your building teams, you've told me that you've got that IT around you and you employ business analysts. What specific qualities do you think females bring to your team, to your IT team?
Yes, good question. For me, I think diversity is very important in any role in any business these days. And I think, in a sense, everybody consumes IT, everybody is a consumer of tech, women included. So it's very important that women themselves also contribute to the solutions. And I think they'll bring that slant, that female slant, if you like. So everybody's got to contribute to the solution. Otherwise, it will all just be one-sided and biased. And the stereotype of IT being geeky or nerdy is no longer there, to be honest. You need all the skill sets that everybody can offer, from the soft skills, negotiating, chatting, engaging, and then also persuading people, and then also translating all that into more technical speak. And I don't see any reason why everybody can't do that, and especially women can do that as well. So for me, it just makes sense to get that diversity into the organization. And thinking about the people I've employed, I reckon it's around about 40–50% women I've employed in my team. So yeah, and for me, it's about also the role. Are they good enough for the role? And I think generally, yeah, they're just as good as anybody else.
And I'm thinking about those other skills, so not just the technical side, but you have mentioned you're recruiting for business analysts, and that's really a speciality of yours itself. Can you talk us through the business analyst role and explain why you don't necessarily have to be too technical minded? Because there is a lot of communication involved with that role, isn't there? So it'd be good if we could just open that one up a bit, please.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, as you've mentioned, I've employed quite a few business analysts, and I'm currently recruiting for another 2 in Lotus. So I'm happy to share those details, and maybe some of your audience may want to apply for that. So for me, the business analyst role is a fundamental role in my teams. It's the link between business and IT. And often that link starts with conversations, understanding what the challenges the user or the business is facing. They also have frustrations. So it's almost, sometimes in cases of calming them down and chatting to them. It has a strong link in maybe some larger organizations. They also have business partners, but maybe in smaller organizations, the business analyst also needs to do the role of the business partner. So they go out, they talk to the users, and they could be talking to an engineer one minute, and then it could be then talking to someone in finance the next day, and so on. So they have to, in a sense, they get a lot of diversity. And what that diversity does for the person is then they get a lot of experience on how an organization fits together and how it works. So ultimately, it's about chatting to and building the requirements, and then trying to translate those requirements into something that maybe a developer may deliver, or another technical person may need to solve. So it is ultimately that gap, bridging that gap between business and IT. There's also elements of support, day-to-day jobs as well. But ultimately, I think when I was doing business analysis, it was just the variety of things you had to deal with. So one minute, like I said, you're on the shop floor dealing with something that isn't working, and then back in the office chatting to finance and trying to improve their financial reporting. And that, for me, gives you a good sort of strong backbone on how an organization and what functions are needed to get an organization to produce the products it produces.
And for listeners that are now thinking, actually, I'd like to apply for those roles, we will try and get the links into the chat for them so they can have a look at them. But what would you recommend in terms of skill sets that they can improve on now or develop now? Presumably there aren't any sort of specific courses that they can train on. It literally is just about developing the skills you talked about.
Yeah, I
mean,
getting
them on the CV.
Yeah, I would encourage anybody to do the BCS foundation in business analysis. There's a foundation, and I think there's a principle as well that I've probably been a little bit forgetful, but I did put in my previous role a set of an analyst framework where I managed to get buy-in and push out saying it would be good if the analyst it's all optional to go on these courses and get certified. I think it's important to get certified. Business analyst now is a professional role out there, and the BCS have made it professional. So if anybody's interested and wants to sort of maybe take it further and show their professionalism, that's a good angle to go into, get certified. But it's one thing being certified. I will be honest here and say, then you've got to apply that in the workplace. So that's where the challenges come. And it's not a case of you just follow the textbook. Then you have to use those tools that you're given and apply them in the right circumstances. Sometimes it is about just talking. Sometimes people are struggling to articulate. So then you start to do Post-it notes, do diagrams, all that kind of thing. So it's then picking the right tools that you have and using that in the right circumstances to understand the user and then ultimately deploy a solution. And depending on if you are technically minded, because there's no harm in being technically minded as well, you can also then contribute to the solution as well. So you almost like create the solution from start to finish, and the BA is at the heart of that delivery of that solution.
Thank you for opening that up, Amo, and we will come back to you shortly. Now,
Sure.
if I can just speak to Narissa, because Narissa is at the other end in terms of the IT service desk side. So Narissa, welcome to the panel. Now, you've worked your way up from school in a variety of IT roles. Can you just tell us a bit about your journey today, and how did it feel maybe being the only female in some of those teams you've belonged to as well?
Yes, absolutely. Hi, everybody. I hope everybody's doing well. So yes, I'm Narissa. Just to give you a quick introduction, I'm 32. I've been in the IT space for about 15 years now. From Berkshire originally, but currently living in Bedfordshire. So yeah, that's just a little bit of background. So I started my journey in IT, as I mentioned, about 15 years ago. Initially, I wanted to go to university. My initial plan was actually to become an architect. However, I just wasn't connecting with sixth form. I wasn't connecting with the subjects that I'd chosen, and I decided to opt for a different career path. Then found a really great apprenticeship scheme, similar to what Just IT are offering. And was able to gain some, obviously quite globally recognized qualifications, like some Microsoft stuff, some courses from and certifications from CompTIA, and that really helped and enabled me to get my foot into the door within IT. So I started off as a first line technical analyst working on a service desk. And worked my way up through there, worked my way up from a first line analyst up to a second line analyst, then up to third line. In regards to the role itself, there are really two elements to it. So you could either work for or work on a service desk where you're providing sort of IT support to the company's internal users, or you could work for or end up working for what's called an MSP, or managed services provider, where they've got multiple customers. They might not have the budgets to have their own internal IT, so they would outsource that function to an MSP to provide that support. I've worked for both. I've worked for companies where you're doing the internal IT support, and both for where you're that external company who's providing other customer support. Generally, day to day, the sort of role entails just taking phone calls from users, from customers, dealing with emails that have come in. It's just really people who are looking for some support and guidance in terms of, any issues that they might be facing. Laptop's slow, internet's not working. I'm using my work mobile phone. I can't make phone calls abroad. The specific application is giving me an error message. So all of these sorts of things, you can really build your skill set with. Starting your career in sort of first line is a really good stepping stone, because you get a broad understanding and knowledge of like so many different technologies across the IT space. And also being in that role means that you interact with all sorts of different people, different departments, because essentially that is sort of like the first point of contact for any IT issues. So you can get involved in what other IT departments might be doing as well. So it gives you a really good insight in terms of, IT as a whole, and yeah, what other departments and companies are doing as well.
Talking of interaction, how important are those softer skills, those communication, teamwork skills over the technical skills?
So for me, as a hiring manager as well, and having hired for many different positions over my time, I'm always looking for those soft skills. Can somebody speak to our customers well? Are they the sort of person that will go the extra mile? What's their attitude? What's their work ethic? Are they a positive person? Do they want to, help the company succeed? Do they want to help the company thrive? Organizational skills as well is very key. You have to be able to be organized, and with timekeeping as well, to be able to schedule out your day and use your time wisely to complete the tasks that you need to do. All of these skills are, for me, far more important than the technical side. The technical side for me can be trained. It's far more difficult to train those softer skills.
So for people on the call now that are looking towards the IT support route going forward, they should really build up their CVs on the communication side. Maybe they've done some jobs in customer service, for example, because all of that background is so important, and that they can talk about that at an interview just as much as any technical skills they've got.
Absolutely, yeah. There are so many transferable skills, that people don't even realize that they've got. Customer interaction is the main one, because not only are you interacting with potentially customers or people within your building, you have to treat everybody with a certain obviously level of professionalism and respect. So, to be able to communicate in a way that's friendly, approachable, and helpful, really does go a long way.
Thank you for that, Narissa. Now, if you could answer any questions you see in the chat actually on that IT support, and we will come back to you shortly. But I've noticed a couple of questions coming in for Amo on the business analyst side, Amo. I don't know whether you can answer this one, please. What experience would someone need for the role of a business analyst? I know you've already mentioned this, you've touched on this, but have you got anything to say back to that question, please?
Yeah, sure. I can probably articulate a little bit better verbally than I have responded in the chat. So I would think there's various sort of levels of business analysts, and I would recognise, and I guess most employers recognise, that depends on what level you're coming in at. So if you're coming in as say a junior BA, then we recognise that experience won't be there in a sense. So for me, it'd be looking at really, have you got the skill sets, or have you had the training around business analysis to bring them on board? But if you're looking at more experience, say perhaps you're coming from other functions within an organization or from a different industry, then that would always help. So and business analysis is quite particular to the industry you're in. So if you're going to say telecoms and they're looking for a business analyst, then it would help if you've got business experience in that telecom field. If you're going into a finance function and they're looking for a financial BA, then obviously it helps if you've got knowledge of finances and how they operate. For example, accounts payable, accounts receivable, or things like that. So that would really help, because ultimately that's what the BA is trying to do, is trying to improve those functions, streamline those functions, make them more efficient. So if you've got the experience, that industry experience, then for me, that's a good shift. So you think, okay, I've got that experience. I've been an accountant or I've been a financial controller, and you want to shift into IT, that you should use that experience to help you shift into IT, and then use IT to solve the problems that you probably know about in that function. So it's just the industry experience, and then if you're moving into IT, use that to get into that IT department of that function in a sense, or that industry, if that helps.
Thank you, Amo. That does clarify. And Amo and Narissa are here to answer those chat questions, so please keep putting them through on the interactive chat box. So let me take you back to Aisling from Shell Energy Retail. So Aisling, I do believe you're back with us now. So we're just talking about yourself and the company you work for, Shell. Shell Energy Retail, what do you actually do at Shell Energy Retail, and what does the organisation Shell Energy Retail do?
So at Shell Energy Retail, we supply home energy for the UK, and we also supply broadband. So currently in the UK, we have over 1 million energy customers and about 500,000 broadband customers. So we supply 100% renewable electricity as standard in the UK. Yes, we are owned by Shell, but we are a separate entity. I have been working there for nearly 3 years now. It's my 3-year anniversary this month, but I am just back from a year's maternity leave. So I came back to work in August after having a year off. So it has been an interesting and difficult experience re-entering the workforce after time off.
Maybe you'd just like to talk a little bit about that. Have you been able to move back into a part-time role, for example, flexibility on the childcare side?
Yes, I have. I am extremely lucky in regards to Shell Energy. They are so flexible in terms of working and so accommodating of all parents in terms of leave for their children. So I'm back on a 4-day week, and I have a great manager. So whenever I have to run off when she's sick, or have to start late because I have to do drop off or pick up, leave early, there's no issue. So it's very rare that you get to work for a company that really puts a lot of value on the importance, of having kids, and the importance of having to leave at short notice, which is one of the things that attracted me to the role at Shell Energy when I was applying a couple of years ago, seeing how much they valued, flexible working and the great maternity benefits that they have, which again is unheard of at companies even in this age.
And I think probably with a lot of roles in the sort of social media and website area that we'll come to in a minute, like your own, it is something that you don't necessarily have to do in that 9 till 5 window. Though you can do it outside that to flex to suit your other things going on in your life. And for many listeners on the webinar here today, they probably enjoy using social media and websites, but actually want to make it more into a career. Can you talk about the different technologies you've used in your career? So just want to inspire people to think about maybe taking those forward.
Yeah, so just to give a background on my career. So I started off working in the PR industry over 10 years ago. And I don't tell many people this, but I actually went to university when I was like 17, didn't like it, dropped out, took a year, did a 1-year course, then went back into university, and then did a master's in business and public relations. I started out as an intern in Dublin 11 years ago, earning €50 a week. Back before the intern industry was at all regulated. So I used to get €50 a week and thought I was winning at life, and then moved over to London to kind of continue my career. It's been an interesting kind of transition from where I started to where I am now. Obviously, the technology landscape has changed dramatically from when I first started out. When I first started out, we would get coverage in the paper. We would have to like scan it, clip it out of the newspaper, stick it, scan it, and put it in a folder. There was no Instagram, Twitter, I think maybe was coming onto the scene, Facebook. There was none of these social media challenges like there are now. It was very, very different. So it was very much kind of like a learn on the job as you kind of went through your career, because we were only learning about these platforms as consumers were, brands were learning about them. So we were all trying to kind of make it work. And then as I kind of went further along in my career, I decided I liked the reputation side more. So looking at how a brand is perceived externally, and then what factors can you use to kind of enhance that. There was a lot of learning on the job. So, depending on the role you're in will depend on the kind of the scope of work that you have. When you work at a big company like Shell Energy, you are lucky that you are kind of more, you can focus on some more particular areas. But I've worked at some companies where I had to like do the websites, do a whole website redesign. I had never done anything in websites. I didn't even know how they worked. So I had to like learn all about different CRM systems, how they work. Then you also need to have all the visual assets for said website. Again, learning on the job, writing all these briefs about all the particular images that you need in all the different dimensions. So if I have any like advice on people starting out, is kind of, go into those smaller companies and get all those like the experience working on a wide range of things. And if I could go back in time, I would definitely learn a lot more about websites and how they work, because you will really set yourself out from the crowd if you can go into any of these like smaller companies and have experience in different CRM systems. You know, if you can kind of get that, go do that from the get-go, you really will make yourself stand out. And another big channel that I use is obviously LinkedIn. And again, obviously LinkedIn has changed a lot from when I first started out in my career, but knowing the importance of, you know, your own personal profile on LinkedIn, making sure you have a good picture, you know, if you've done projects, make sure that you link them in your experience. It really does help kind of showcase you as a person. You have to remember that you are your own brand as well. So whatever you do on LinkedIn or on social channels, you are looking after your own reputation, your own brand. Another thing to remember is once it's out there on social media. So just don't forget that. You'd be surprised how often you need to remind people that you can't take it back, and to be careful about what you do put out there, because it could affect you getting a job later down the road. Yeah.
Aisling, that's a really good point, actually, and we'll come to that actually with our next panelist from Cognizant. But we've got a question in the chat about looking for roles as a marketing assistant to start off. Would you say that's a good role to try and look for first of all? You know, looking at in terms of a career in digital marketing.
I think it's a difficult one. I think that the PR world and the marketing world they're kind of like, they're best friends, and they work alongside each other. They are a little bit different. For marketing, you know, it's kind of like, do you want to do things? Sorry, I'm trying to think. I think that you could come into this role, but it wouldn't be as a marketing assistant. You would be maybe like a PR assistant or comms assistant. Some companies will have a marketing and communications department. It completely varies on the type of company and how they structure their sector. So for example, in my company at Shell Energy, we have, you know, brand reputation and advocacy is one, and then we have brand and communications and marketing is another team. So we're separate and we do different things. But I think that if you want to kind of go into the marketing space, having a knowledge of public relations, the different things that affect a company's reputation, understanding different marketing channels, and kind of pinpointing the channels that you like, what you like to do. I always knew that I would not be very good at marketing per se, but I'm very good at looking at a company's reputation and seeing what they can do to improve it. And no matter what you do, I think you just need to be able to pinpoint what you like to do, what channels you wanted to kind of work on, and then kind of find a job that does that. I don't know if that may help.
That helps immensely. Thank you, Aisling. And just thinking about what you said there about the technologies, I think sometimes we underestimate what we already know. And actually, if we look at what we're using, you know, in the evening in our home life on, you know, on the computer, the different packages that we're using, whether it's Microsoft or Adobe or whatever it is, you know, we can get that all on our CVs because it's all going to help us when it comes to applying for jobs in the future.
Just to focus on that, the importance of Microsoft Office and understanding Office. If you can use Office, put it on your CV, because I think that sometimes we take it as a given that, oh, everybody just knows how to use Word and Excel, but it surprises me there are people coming into the workforce now that can't use Excel, and you need to be able to use it even on a basic level. So if you can't use it, you know, there are loads of refresher courses. There's even a woman on Instagram who puts up a tip every day on what you can do in PowerPoint, and it's mind-blowing. So definitely kind of expand your knowledge on the Office suite.
That's a very good point, I think.
Amo, do you agree with that one as well?
Yeah, because these are more becoming like fundamentals, I believe, and you almost like they're almost like becoming your English and maths that you need in a sense. And I think there's whether it's right or wrong, it's difficult to say, but there's an expectation that you just need to upskill yourselves in those basic applications, I think.
And Narissa, yourself, would you say the same on those basics? Narissa might be on mute at the moment. I think she's probably on mute. Aisling, if you could just put that link to the Instagram site in on the PowerPoint onto the chat, that would be really good. Thank you. I think everyone
Yeah,
will
I'll have a look
be
for it
looking to
now.
find that. Which lead us nicely on to Cecile and Haifa, both from Cognizant, because they've got that creativity as part of their role. So very much focused on the sort of digital marketing side. So for the benefit of the audience, Cecile, please can you just tell us what Cognizant actually does, and Haifa, talent acquisition marketing, what actually is this? So Cecile, if you can go first.
Yeah, no problem. So, Cognizant is a big company, but a lot of people aren't aware of all the services they do. They have a lot of IT and tech services that they offer to clients, but we are also a big recruitment company, and we want to really emphasize how we prefer getting people based on their skills and not just based on their experience. As we just mentioned right now, the past panelists, the skills is really important. Nowadays, even if you have the experience, you might not be able to do certain things. And that's why getting certification and making sure you have the appropriate skills is really good, especially when you apply to companies, because that just doesn't put your CV up on top of the list, but it really allows to see recruiters what you're capable of and really go above and beyond. So Cognizant, it's a recruitment company. We recruit for a lot of tech companies. We have a big variety of roles from, I think, business analysts and consultants to marketing to then engineering. So it has a bit of everything for everyone. So I think we're going to give you some links to check out the careers website.
Thank you very much. And Haifa, talent acquisition marketing.
Yeah.
What is it?
So basically it involves the people side. So me and Cecile work together to let people know about Cognizant in all forms, and on why it's a great place to work, about the culture. So yeah, it's all people related, whereas you usually get business to business marketing. This is like business to consumer more so. So yeah, it's all still marketing related, but we're just focused on the employee side or candidate side instead. So yeah, we're both new to this field, and we're the only two people in this specific area at the moment. But it's been a lot of fun. We both are quite new to the company, but we're enjoying every part because there's just so many things to learn. So yeah, it's been a really great experience so far. Yeah, lots of fun and different things to try as well.
Thank you, Haifa. And Cecile, you were explaining that your role is actually quite creative, and we haven't really touched on creativity yet in terms of digital marketing, but could you just explain about how you're able to use your creativity in your role at Cognizant, please?
Yes. So, of course, since it is a big organization, you do have to follow a lot of guidelines. So you can't just do anything you want, but it does still allow you to have a really good creative aspect. So at the moment, for example, we're helping recruiters get new job descriptions. So of course, you need to make it look interactive. You need to make it look pretty, but also containing all the important information. We're going to help some recruiters also, but also in different countries, do LinkedIn ads. So making sure that whatever social media ties we're using is also according to the guidelines, but still has is a bit attractive because we want people to be interested in it. So we do have quite a lot of variety depending on if it's for internal communication, for emails that we want to send out to our coworkers, if it's external, exactly what can we say, and then how to really put in a nice way. So we create a bit of everything. To be fair, it's kind of hard to just pinpoint one aspect, but it's always making sure to follow what you need to do, but also make sure that you keep it fun and interactive, because you don't want people to just look at it and be like, well, that's not fun. And that's something that you kind of have to keep in the back of your mind, is if you were given this document or whatever, if you see something for the first time, what would be your impression of it, and how would you want it to be seen? And that's just something that we are trying to work on. And it's something that you just don't check off the list and you say, okay, that's done, I don't ever have to look at it again. It's something that you're always going to work on and think about how to improve it.
And for Haifa, what piece of advice would you give to women who are looking to explore technology but don't know where to start?
I would just say get on LinkedIn. I think that's a really great site to use. Look at people that you that are in a similar field, or I guess if there's a role that you're interested in, look at the kind of career path they've taken and see if that's something that you're also interested in. Network, go to events that have kind of discussions, and they're talking about what could be involved, what you could be part of, what kind of projects are taking place. And then just reach out to people on LinkedIn as well. Like I did that a lot. When I was starting out, I would just connect with people, and people are usually just really friendly and easy to talk to, and they're willing to share their knowledge and experience. So yeah, just don't be afraid to get out there. Just take a risk, and you'll end up hopefully in somewhere that you're happy with or you want to grow in.
Thank you, Haifa. That's really useful advice. And we've just had a question into the chat. Cecile on Google Garage. Do you recommend using that, trying it, doing it?
So if I'm not wrong, that's where you have all the Google courses available.
Mm.
I would definitely suggest checking it out and getting some certifications done. Normally, most of them are free. Depending on the CRM your company will use, it will change a bit, but at least the fundamentals and the principles of each system, or at least each kind of aspect that you will work on, is the same. So the more you get, the more knowledge you can get before you get the job. And once you're there, you know what to do, and you have a big idea of how you want to analyze the situation and get a hold of it. So for me, I would suggest everybody to look into it, get the certifications done, and just get a love of learning.
Haifa, have you got any top tips for when it comes to interviews? When you did your interview with Cognizant, you had all the experience behind you on your CV, but actually in terms of going out there into an interview situation, have you got any tips for our listeners today?
I'd say research. So like look up the company, what kind of just get a feel of what they kind of do, get a feel of the culture. Is it somewhere you'd be happy to be in? Again, use LinkedIn. I think that's a great tool. Look at the people that are interviewing you, find out a bit about their background. What have they done? Ask those questions. You'll get the typical questions, but just remember that you're interviewing them too. It's a two-way street. You need to know just as much about them as they do about you. So just like feel comfortable in asking different questions, or really finding out more about what your role is going to be like. What's the team like? Ask them, what will I be doing day to day? Where is this career path lead to? Like, you just don't be afraid to really put yourself out there as well, and be yourself, and just speak to family, friends, and just do some tests and practice runs if you feel quite nervous or anything. But yeah, I think we put too much pressure on ourselves, and usually I've done interviews myself now, and I realize like the interviewer is just as like nervous on the other side. So so I think just do research. I think that's the most thing. Just to look up the company, the people there, and then just get a feel, and take your time to make the decision. Don't rush it because you feel pressure, because there's so many jobs out there now as well. There's just so much competition. So take that confidence and go with it.
I'll just add to that, Julianne, if that's okay.
Please.
So yeah, it was something Colin mentioned to me, and I do tend to agree with it. It's like a job spec is just a list of requirements, and like anything in life, requirements, we try to get everything in the requirements, but often we're quite accepting that candidates won't meet all the requirements. So it is a case of being compromising in a sense, like in most things in life. So you don't feel that you can't apply for a particular role because you haven't got everything in the job spec. And even if you're honest in the interview, that comes across really well as well. So if you have some, or you've got other attributes that you think could lend itself well to the job spec, just give it a go. So don't think we have to tick every single box, because as much as we'd like to, but we're also realistic as well. So even managers or people employing people, they do have to compromise as well.
I think that's just such wise words, Amo. Going back to you, sorry, Haifa.
Yeah, no, that was all. That was good to hear as well. Yeah, I didn't think about even pre-interview as well, just thinking about, not being afraid to, even if you don't fit, all the tick boxes, you still go for it. And you just never know where it will take you. So yeah, I definitely agree with that as well.
And Amo, I think there is evidence, isn't there, that females are less likely, if they don't tick everything on the box, to apply. I think I've seen that before.
Yeah, I've only heard about it and maybe read about it, but yeah. So I mean, candidates that I've interviewed, they've come across pretty well in terms of when they're females, and they don't have all the skill sets that I've put in the job spec, but neither have the males, to be honest. So I would just say, yeah, you guys need to just go for it. If you feel you've got even 30-40% of the skill set, there might be something that the interviewer likes at the end of the day. So it's difficult in black and white to always articulate what a manager is looking for or what a hiring person is looking for. So you just need to, if you think of it, just go for it. I think that we will filter out based on CVs and things like that, but ultimately I think people will come through, and you can sell yourself at an interview. So go for it, have the confidence and go for it.
And actually, I learned a very interesting statistic last week as well, and it's the fact that women are actually 36% more likely to be hired over a man. But I think actually Leah's just put in the chat as well the other statistic that actually women only apply for roles if they meet 100% of the criteria, whereas men it's around the 50 to 60% mark. So yeah, women are actually more likely to be hired, but there's just things that hold them back from doing that. So just thought I'd share that as well.
Definitely. Thank you so much, Sharon. Go for it. Sorry.
And I think not to forget, like, once you're in a role, you can try and mold it to be what you want it to be. So when I started off in my current role before I went on mat leave, it was just, I was just the public relations manager, and I started looking into the reputation stuff a little bit on the side. And then once I was on leave, they realized it was actually a huge, it was a big part of the role. So the role got split into two. So the guy who covered my mat leave, he stayed on to be the media relations manager, while I now get to focus on that reputation side, which is the side I really, really enjoy, because I was able to kind of talk to the business like, oh, I see that we could be doing all of these things, but I don't really have the time to do them because I'm kind of focused on all the media stuff. And now that I'm back, I'm starting to kind of think about all the other things that I could do that kind of encompass that reputation role, so that I can take on more stuff. So I'm molding it to be the job I want it to be. It's not the job that I got when I started, but you can mold the job to be what you want it to be the longer you're in there, and you can kind of see where the gaps are, and then you can always kind of do that extra bit of training to make it what you want it.
Thank you so much to all of you and everyone that's listening in. Please keep putting those questions into the chat, because the panel are still here. Although we're going to turn to the apprentices now, the panel are still here to answer any of those questions, and we'll keep that chat going as we move forward. So I just wanted to hear from our apprentices, Lauren and Lizzie. So Nina, over to you.
Thank you, Julianne. So good afternoon all. My name is Nina. I'm the Senior Candidate Management Executive here at Just IT. I'm super excited to be presented today and speaking to some of our apprentices who will be sharing their journey and experience. So I'd like to start off with Lauren. Hi, Lauren.
Hiya.
Hi, Lauren. So Lauren, can you just quickly give us a brief introduction to yourself and what you're doing at the moment?
Yeah, of course. So hi everyone, my name's Lauren. I am a digital marketing apprentice at Red Giraffe in Milton Keynes. And basically my kind of roles at the minute are kind of focused around web with a little bit of social media on the side. We only have one social media client at the minute, so I'm kind of managing that. As well as kind of with the web side of things, as kind of my skills have grown more and more, and I've kind of got more confident, I've been given more responsibility with the clients and with kind of every aspect of the web design and the website as a whole. And yeah, so that's kind of the main things really.
Brilliant. And Lauren, can you just give us a bit of insight as to kind of how your apprenticeship is going so far, and what has been your highlight?
Yeah, so with the apprenticeship, so I'd say with the exams, they would kind of coincide with things I would be doing and kind of learning with my job role as well. So with my marketing exam, it's kind of, I think the kind of the aspect of my job, it definitely helped kind of being more hands-on with everything. So I'd kind of get a bit of insight from my college and also people that I worked with as well. So someone that I work alongside, Lee, he is a senior designer. So I'd kind of learn things from him as well, and just everyone in the workspace, because we have a copywriter, we did have a content manager, Anna, she's left now, but a senior designer, and kind of learning from those different roles as well, and learning about them in my apprenticeship. It's kind of helped bring it all together, and yeah.
Good to hear. And just going off exams, I saw that you passed your principal and marketing exam. So well done, congratulations. Could you just give us a bit of insights to things that were covered within the exam?
Yeah, of course. So in the exam, I did it twice. I failed the first time. And there was kind of different things in both. I'd say the main kind of things that I picked up on were, there was a lot of different things. I'd say there was a mix of web design and social media. Some questions were kind of simpler than others. I'd say there was quite a lot on email marketing, and different questions kind of went deeper into certain subjects, I'd say. So yeah, kind of about the marketing mix, I'd say, yeah, social media, and kind of as well as the different roles in digital marketing. So, you know, like I spoke about copywriting, content manager, web designer, stuff like that. Just kind of a range of questions really. Yeah.
Thank you. And Lauren, did you always have a passion for marketing? Did you know that this is something that you wanted to get into as a career path?
No, actually, I hadn't really ever thought about digital marketing or web design. At university, I did graphic design, so it's not really that far off, really. But I kind of never had considered web design at all until this apprenticeship came along, and I found that I really enjoy it. And I think it's something that I kind of want to stick with and go and continue on. But yeah, so I kind of just found that I really enjoyed it, and it kind of came to me naturally. But again, starting this role, I kind of had no experience with web design, and I've kind of learned everything as I've gone along. And so the apprenticeship's definitely helped with that, and it's grown my confidence massively. And yeah, I'm still learning now. But yeah, it's definitely helped kind of decide what I like and what I'm good at. Yeah.
Brilliant. And it's good to hear the support, and also you highlighting that you didn't have no experience beforehand, and this apprenticeship has supported that. So my last question to you, Lauren, would be, do you think it's important for more women to get into the technology industry? And what is a good place to start, do you think?
Yeah, definitely. I do agree. I think that, well, I'd say, as I had kind of no interest or any kind of, you know, I didn't really know anything about web design as a whole. I think, as people have said before, I think LinkedIn's a very good platform to kind of start with, just to kind of get your name out there, and just to kind of see the kind of things that you're interested in, or, you know, it could be more specific roles, just to kind of see what you like and what kind of things speak to you, really. But yeah, so and I think kind of researching the company, as was said before, I think is really important, because kind of I think personally at Red Giraffe, I think it's a very kind of good environment, because we have, I think it's 50-50 actually. We've got 4 women and 4 men in our company, and it's a very kind of nice environment. everyone is equal. We kind of all take on everyone's opinions, and it's very kind of constructive. And I think that's something that's really important in a job role.
Thank you, Lauren. Lauren, before I let you go, if you can also just include some links in the chat box to maybe some of the websites you've designed, and any useful links that you think will be useful to anyone in the session today that is looking to do marketing, that'd be really helpful. Thank you.
Of course, no problem.
If I can turn to Lizzie. Good afternoon, Lizzie. Thank you for joining us here today. Lizzie, could you just also give us a brief introduction to yourself, please?
Yeah, hi, I'm Lizzie. I'm a 23-year-old end user support engineer at TPI Cap. And yeah, so I started as an apprentice at a company called CMC Markets. And yeah, I did the 1-year apprenticeship with them, which started me off in the industry. End user support is very similar to the service desk, but more involved with, yeah, again, I mean, just helping users technically with anything like from their desktop to mobiles, do a bit of service sort of support as well. So yeah, you technically just want to, you know, be on hand for internal users. And within TPI Cap, it's a global company, and we're a brokerage, so we're also assisting brokers with setups on dealing with the clients as well. So yeah, there's a lot going on in the field that I'm in, at the firm that I'm in. So yeah, that's a bit about me and where I'm at.
Amazing. Thank you, Lizzie. And just going back to your apprenticeship, how did the apprenticeship that you was doing with TMT Markets support you get into your current role now?
Where I started was really important because, I mean, I had an interest in computers and I just decided to do IT. I did games development in college first off, because I wanted to also use a bit of my creative side, and then I didn't see where I was going to go after that, but I definitely wanted to work with computers. But I think this was a good step to go and do an apprenticeship with Just IT. They really helped me. They trained me up into building the knowledge from, you know, the foundations and the systems that you need to learn, and all the skills you need to develop. So it was just really helpful start. And the guys at CMC were really supportive as well for getting me to sort of where I am at the moment.
Amazing. And could you potentially just give us any advice or tips in terms of what someone can be doing at the moment if they're not in the industry but they are looking to start their career, potentially doing something that you do as an end user support?
I'll definitely get online. Again, with the LinkedIn, it's very useful as well to get in contact with people who are, you know, wanting to sort of look out for new talent. So if you're not on there, then do get on there. It's the best way. And yeah, you just want to throw yourself into as much training as possible. And then also, if you need more help and assistance with it, you want to get into possibly a Just IT apprenticeship. They have loads of opportunities there, and that's just how I started. And you know, I'm really proud of my achievements so far, and I hope that we can you know, build a better network for women to be more involved in technology.
Amazing, brilliant. Again, you should definitely be proud of yourself completing the apprenticeship program and then going on to do your current role now. So well done to you. So thank you both, Lauren and Lizzie, for sharing your journeys and experience. It's been a pleasure speaking to you both. I'll now like to hand it back to Julianne to take it over from here. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Nita, and thanks to apprentices Lauren and Lizzie for sharing your stories. Now, for some of you on the call looking to change career, you might want to consider a boot camp or an apprenticeship. We've spoken about career pathways in digital marketing, business analyst, IT support, and Lizzie and Lauren have highlighted their apprenticeship training. But this slide, I wanted to just highlight the vast range of apprenticeships out there. For example, you could consider cybersecurity or even digital accessibility. Apprenticeships are open to anyone aged 16 and over, and you can complete an apprenticeship at any time in your career life. The benefit of an apprenticeship is that you learn on the job. Now, you can find a list of apprenticeship jobs on gov.uk, and we will put this link into the chat for you so you can take a look at this. The jobs listing on gov.uk also enables you to search by location, so you can look for an apprenticeship that's near to your home, for example. For those of you thinking about boot camps, these are intensive training courses comprising of 12 weeks of technical training and 12 weeks of career support. Boot camps can enhance your technical skill set, increase your confidence, which puts you in a really great place to apply for jobs. I'll ask the team just to put some bootcamp links into the chat as well, so you can see how to sign up and look for a little bit more information on those. And now we're getting through the webinar now. We're just coming to the final few minutes, but I just wanted to get a final word of advice from all of our panelists today. So if I can start with you, Amo, what piece of advice would you give to everyone on the call today?
I think probably what I mentioned earlier is that if you see a job spec and you don't tick all the boxes, don't worry about it, and just go for the job. If you tick some of the boxes and you feel the role is for you, if the organisation itself seems to be a good fit for yourself as well, then go for it. Really, that's the thing I would really say.
Thank you. It's a great takeaway to have. And Aisling, from you?
Excuse me. I would say don't kind of pinhole yourself to one particular industry. When you're looking for a job, look at a broad range of industries, because you might end up in an industry you didn't think you'd like, that you'd actually love. I always thought I wanted to work in the kind of the FMCG space, on drinks brands, because it's really cool. I did it and it was awful. And then it turns out I much rather enjoyed working for those kind of the bigger corporations with bigger teams, being in-house, meaning that you can focus on like one brand, learn more about it. So, don't have a narrow view in terms of companies. Like, look everywhere. You never know what company you'll find that you'll thoroughly love.
Thank you, Aisling. And Narissa?
Yeah, so I would say to women, or to anybody really, not to be afraid or feel daunted by how much ground IT covers. I think, there are many different streams of IT. And I think once you're in IT, you'll soon find your niche or what you're most passionate about. And you can really tailor that to build and develop your career to suit your interests. And I think, although there are a lot of specialisms and training is always an advantage in IT, I would say, don't let that deter you from putting yourself out there, as there's, so many transferable skills, as I mentioned earlier, especially with customer service, communication, team management, project management, budget management, reporting, I could go on. And, IT, I find, is, such a versatile sector to be in. I think another key fact that I heard the other day was, that many companies are now becoming tech companies. Even your bank, for example, your main interaction used to be through your local branch, and you would go to the checkout. But now, really, a person's main interaction through their bank are through their apps. So, it's just like, our bank's now technology companies, and it's such a good and exciting field to be in. But really, I would say that the only limits to somebody's progression and willing is someone's mindset. So yeah, absolutely. I think just get stuck in, get in there. It's a great time to be in the tech world.
Thank you, Narissa. And Cecile?
I would say there's it's easy to get lost and to not know what we want and or what we need to know. So the best resource is available to you. Just look it up, whether it's on Instagram, Google, LinkedIn. Try to learn more, try to reach out to people, and you will find out at some point what you really want to do. So don't feel overwhelmed and just keep looking until like you find something that makes you happy.
Thank you, Cecile. And finally, Haifa.
Yeah, lots of great advice. Yeah, I think just take a risk, take a chance, and you never know where you might end up. So yeah, I think all the advice is probably similar to what I would have said anyway. But yeah, don't be afraid to just go out there, put yourself in a new situation, a new environment. That's where you grow the most. So yeah, I think just take a risk and yeah, hope, and it will lead you to where you want to be eventually. So yeah, just have a positive mindset. That's the most important thing.
Thank you so much, Haifa.
Yeah.
So we've reached the end of the webinar. We hope you found it really inspirational, and I hope our speakers have sparked an interest in a career in technology. I'd like to convey a huge thanks to today's panelists, Amo, Aisling, Narissa, Cecile and Haifa, and apprentices Lauren and Lizzie for their valuable input. And I really hope this webinar has been of benefit to you all. The recording will be sent out to you in due course, but if there are any further questions you want to ask, please make contact with the team at Just IT or by email, or you can contact the panelists and myself on LinkedIn, and we'll do our very best to help you. Thank you.